Hello X. It's been quite a few years since I've lurked the chance, but I felt I had to share the story I've heard many times by my uncle who just recently passed away. QRD on my uncle. He'd been in and out of jail throughout his life since a child. Started with petty theft, but that turned into aggravated assault and even an attempted bank robbery. He eventually turned his life around and spent the last few decades of his life dedicated to being a good husband and father to his stepdaughter. The story I'm about to share is his story that he will only tell if asked. He says this was the incident that changed him and made him turn his life over to Christ instead of lusting after the thrills of committing crime. Be my uncle in 1975, in his mid-30s. He is serving parole for aggravated assault. He has only about 90 days left on a 3-year sentence. He is attending a good friend's engagement party. Friend was a fellow inmate whom my uncle served time with. Party is at a large indoor skating rink. During the reception, my uncle admits he got jealous of his friend. Uncle's friend has a beautiful fiancée, cool muscle car, lots of friends, fell onto big money taking over a business. Uncle's friend throws a huge party and goes all out. Uncle says in a fit of jealous rage, he quietly steps out of a rear exit of the skating rink. Uncle said that even though he was wrought with jealousy, he also did not want to be a burden to his good friend. As my uncle is trying to discreetly leave the reception, he notices something very peculiar out of the corner of his eye. A couple of white dudes approaching a black man, trying to get his attention, shouting accusations at him. Uncle watches this scene play out. Immediate realization by my uncle that this is the fight he saw earlier when entering his friend's party, only the events are playing out several minutes earlier than they were before he arrived. When my uncle first arrived at the party, he walked past an incident where a couple of white men beat the snot out of a black dude. The fight had already finished. The black dude was being schlepped away in humiliation for whatever went down when my uncle arrived. But now, that same fight was only just beginning. My uncle says that it was like time had rewound for him, like an 8-track cassette tape, the moment he stepped outside that door. At first, my uncle does not think anything about it, kind of shrugs it off, still sulking over his friend's reception party. Uncle retraces his steps to head back to the bus stop where the city bus had dropped him off before the party and waits for the next bus. As he waits, he notices the bus arriving well ahead of schedule by his watch. Uncle shrugs and proceeds to climb onto the bus, only this was the exact same bus he had taken earlier to arrive to his friend's party. Same bus, same driver, even same passengers as before, meaning this was the exact same bus that he would have been departing to arrive to the party, but it is just now arriving. Somehow, my uncle found himself stumbling into a time loop. He immediately realizes that he has the opportunity to replay everything that happened over the past several minutes. My uncle rushes back to his friend's reception to confirm. As my uncle approaches the venue, he notices the black man from before, except there were no white guys there to jump him this time. Time had skipped a bit further into the past from my uncle's perspective. He slips back through the rear exit. Sure enough, everything is playing out as it had before, some 20 minutes earlier. Side note, it's at this point in the story where you would notice a dramatic change in my uncle's tone and posture while telling his story. Uncle says he felt a strange deep feeling inside his heart. Said it felt like having a railroad spike being driven deep into his chest. Uncle says the first thing that came over him was to take revenge against his good friend. He would use this time skip phenomenon to take advantage of his friend and his unwitting guests and rob them all blind. Like the expert pickpocket he was, Uncle made his way around the reception, stealing people's wallets and even stealing the keys to his friend's awesome muscle car. Sure enough, everything was playing out as it had before, making it easy for my uncle to know who to target and when, since he knew when they would be the most vulnerable. But then Uncle admits that he had gotten too greedy, stolen way more than he should have done. Could have been just a few items, but no. He went for watches and wallets and jewelry, a real heist. In a drunken lust of vengeance fueled by jealousy, Uncle says that it had gotten to the point where his moves were becoming sloppy. He remembers there was a commotion from before as people rushed outside to see the ensuing fight between the black man and the white dudes that were going to jump him. As commotion at the reception began to swell, Uncle would use the opportunity to slip out the back exit like he had before. Uncle makes his way out the back, and sure enough, he sees the two white men approaching the black man again. Only, this time, my uncle, out of sheer curiosity, gets closer to listen in on what the commotion was about. Turns out people had accused the black man of stealing from them. Yes, that's right. The very fight my uncle saw the first time he arrived was actually caused by him stealing, and this innocent black guy was taking the blame for it. My uncle had fulfilled his own loop. Uncle is momentarily stunned by this realization. He turns to leave and go back to the bus stop to make off with his spoils. Only, in being sloppy, Uncle says his pockets were bulging and he had even dropped a few items onto the ground without even realizing. Uncle leaving a trail of evidence without realizing it. Again, as part of the self-fulfilling time loop, a few loose dollars my uncle found on the ground on the way to this event was actually money he had dropped in this part of the loop. Uncle remembers thinking finding that money was a sign that he would have a good day. Didn't realize it was him who dropped the money in the first place. While making his way from the commotion, Uncle says someone noticed him trying to get away. The same money that Uncle found would instead expose him to onlookers in this timeline. Uncle says that two of the white dudes who were otherwise preoccupied with roughing up the black guy now turned their full attention towards my uncle instead and began chasing after him. Uncle says he was too weighed down with the spoils of his crime, but instead of just dumping it, he clutched onto it greedily, which severely handicapped his ability to get away. The two white guys tackle my uncle to the ground and, sure enough, find stolen goods on him. The same stolen goods the black guy was being beat up for from before. In essence, had my uncle not been greedy, the events would have played out as they had before, with none the wiser. Uncle is beaten up and humiliated, then later taken into custody by authorities. Uncle totally betrayed his friend and felt like shit. Taken to jail, refuses bail, and faces the judge. He pleads guilty and gets 5 years prison sentence due to violating parole. Uncle serves 3 years in prison regretting his decision and is let free on parole for good behavior. Had he not been greedy, he had the opportunity to do good in the time that was given to him. Instead, he was driven by the evil he said he felt pierced deep into his heart. My uncle ended up becoming a born-again Christian and spent the rest of his life trying to do good. My dad worked for CBS and tried to pitch his brother's story for the Twilight Zone reboot, but the script was never greenlit. I have one. I was 6 years old at the time this happened. We are a family of 7. Our parents are rabbits. We are going to Croatia after years of not going. We used to go there monthly before. My dad is self-employed. There is this place where they make delicious spit-roasted lamb in the hills. It's just a minor detour off the motorway. Totally worth it. We get lost since my dad forgot how to get there. The hills get foggy. Plus, we're on this serpentine road. We get deep in a forest. My older brothers are saying stupid Silent Hill things and other horror reference jokes and shit that I don't even get at the time. Suddenly, a goddamn hellhound jumps in front of the car. My dad hits the brakes like crazy. This wolf thing, or what looks like a wolf, takes a glance at us and jumps into the woods on the other side of the road. I was in the back, so I just saw a large black thing. I only say wolf because I don't know what else to say. The people in the front seats say it had glowing amber eyes. Oh, and even I saw that it was pitch black and the size of a smaller horse. It was unbelievably black. The white fog did not take effect on it. I don't even know how to explain this. My dad stopped 4 meters away, and the road was blurry because of the fog, but not the wolf. The wolf was not concealed or covered or blurry at all. I don't know if that's understandable. The fog cleared up minutes after, even though it was there for 2 hours before, and we found our way back to the motorway. My dad insisted that he did not make any wrong turns. On the way back, my dad, secretly, since none of the family wanted another encounter with that thing, made the detour and easily found his way there, seemingly making the same turns. I was 16 years old at the time that this one happened to me. I am walking down the street in the middle of the night. It's around midnight to about 1ish. I notice that the same car has driven by me several times. I think nothing of it at first, as I was probably just too stoned and paranoid over nothing. I start to notice this guy is going out of his way to follow me. I remain on the main roads, but they are out of my way, as I was heading to a friend's house to get fucked up. I become annoyed that I have to go out of my way. I decide to take my chances and go on non-busy side streets. The car follows suit. Now I start to become really angry and really paranoid. I know I can't fight whoever is in that car, because I'm a fucking twink. I have heart but no training or muscle to back it up. I yell out, "Fuck you," as the car starts to slowly coast behind me and it pulls in front and comes to a stop. Oh shit. I dip to the side in someone's backyard, running through as fast as I could, weaving my way through a neighborhood I was luckily familiar with. I hear a gunshot in the distance. I hear hollering. 2 to 3 white guys who sound like they're trying to be gangster are calling me a pussy for not wanting to get jumped over the $3 and half a packet of cigarettes in my pocket. I lose them finally, panting like a madman, and I am not too far away from my friend's place. I arrive inside. I tell them about what just happened. They console me with liquor, weed, and a little Adderall. They tell me more guys are gonna arrive soon to sell them some coke. They show up. It's that fucking car. I tell them it's that car, but no one gave a fuck, as they really just wanted their coke, and they told me to hide somewhere in the meantime. The same 3 guys hop in and rob everyone. They start looking around the house. I get spooked and dip out the back. I just book it the fuck home. Cop pulls me over. Fucking damn it. He gets me for being past curfew, and I tell him about what happened, and he just kinda brushes it off, as I know jack shit about cars, and my explanation was poor as all hell. He gives me a ride home and a slap on the wrist. Cop saved my fucking ass. Still, fuck him though. Here is another one. Be me, I was 16 again at this time. I am walking to a different friend's house to get fucked up. I am walking down a generally quiet road that has a big park on my left side, perfect for bailing on cops. Lo and behold, fucking cop pulls up right in front of me as I am walking towards incoming traffic. He shines his spotlight on me. I look at him. I look at the trail to my left. I look at him again. Honestly, looking back, this probably looked fucking hilarious to him. I run faster than I ever have in my life because I've gotten pulled over for curfew so many times now, they're probably going to start taking action. He does not follow me. I run all the way to the back of the park, which was about an acre away, and hid in some tall grass next to a fence at the end that led to a neighborhood. I look out to where the cop was. I hear more coming. Cool, now it's a big deal. I hop the fence right after the spotlight scans over me. I'm in someone's backyard now. I hide in their backyard, but get spooked, because think that any minute, the person who lives in the house is going to come out. I head towards the street. That is a bad idea. I see the cop turning on the street, coming towards me. He hasn't spotted me yet. I am on the side of the guy's house now, and I have only 2 options. Turn back and head towards the backyard again, or hide in a recycling bin. I hid in that fucking bin for an hour or so, as I heard the low hum of police cars passing by, scanning the area. I hop out after a while. I make my way down the street, towards the church with a huge backyard. I see cops at the church parking lot. Are you kidding me? I'm not even doing anything. I'm just out after curfew. You fuckers are wasting my parents' tax dollars on my ass. I run back to the bin, and hide for another 15 or so minutes. I come back out. They are gone. I run home. Not creepy, just have so many stories of running from the cops, and not many places to share them. Be 17 years old now. I am trying fizzles for the first time with a group of friends, cut with meth, MDMA, and coke. Everyone is fucking hyped up. We decide to go to the aforementioned church from my bin boy adventures and actually try to get the cops called on us so we can run from them. We start yelling, being obnoxious, just chasing each other around the backyard, and eventually, someone calls the cops. Fucking armada comes in. We were not expecting 4 to 5 cop cars to pull up. Everyone starts running in different directions. It's a fucking shit show. Already, 2 out of the 9 people that were with us are caught. We can hear one ratting us out, giving names. Meanwhile, some of us are hiding together in a nearby house's backyard that faces the church. Cops start calling us out by name. Get the fuck out here now, we have dogs. Fuck, I am gonna get bit over some dumb shit. Some guy comes out with hands up. Apparently, whoever called the cops said that one of us had a gun, or at least that's what the cops say. Now it's only me and 2 of our friends left still hiding. We wonder if they will hold true to that dog threat, considering the only crime we've committed so far is loitering. Woof woof. Okay, they were not kidding. One of the guys with me just starts booking it out in the open to try to make it to another house and get distance between cops. Dog fucking lands him almost immediately after he reveals himself. He gets bit. He is fucking screaming. I'm still in the same spot. Now the lights turn on in the house. Now it's just me and a good friend of mine, and whoever is living in this house now is going to fuck us. We decide to run from his backyard to the front yard. Fat fuck in the house is looking out the window and yells for us to stop. Cops notice. Now we're terrified. This has been going on for an hour now, and the cops are tired and pissed off. We both have had bad encounters with police and know they are going to be rough with us. They have a fucking dog for fuck's sake. We hear the dog running towards the fence, but it can't do shit because dogs cannot climb walls, lol. As we hear the dog, we are already making our way to the other side of the house in the street out front. We go the way the cops would least expect, which is essentially just into another person's backyard and into another and another. Apparently, we were not the only ones still left. One guy was a few houses over, screaming in pain. Ex-military guy came out of his house and fucking broke this guy's arm and was holding him down for the cops. We feel bad, but we're not gonna try and save him. He actually saved us because now the cops are gonna think he was the one where we were. We get away. A couple days after, we find out that dog guy went to hospital. A few caught by police suffered some beatings from them, and broken arm guy actually got a broken collarbone as well from military guy. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. This happened to me a few years ago. I was driving through East Pennsylvania, and I am giving this girl I had just met at a friend's house that night a ride back to her place. Now, getting to her house involves going down a 1-lane road that I had driven on at least 100 times prior to this. At one section, the road meanders around a ridge by making a big right turn. Then it does a sharp turn left after a couple of 100 yards, and then right again, where these 2 logs laying on the side of the road make a kind of a X shape on the ground. Very distinctive landmark, at least for me. This is the way the road has always been. So there we are, trying to find topics to talk about to keep the car ride from becoming awkward, since we hardly know each other. We make a right turn, round the bend, then a sharp left turn, and then there is a left turn up ahead. Immediately, my body goes into fight or flight mode. I remember thinking, this is not right. I know there is a right turn here. This is not what is supposed to be here. We both felt dead silent and looked ahead in confusion. The road about 100 yards in front of me just turned left and disappeared off into the woods. To the right there was nothing, just the side of a hill and some trees. It looked completely natural, not like a mirage or anything, yet it felt so strange and almost intentionally deceptive. None of this made sense. I knew these roads. As we approached the turn, I decided that I am not going down that road. Something bad was down that road, so I just made the irrational decision to turn right instead and hope for the best. The girl in the car put her hands on the dashboard to brace for impact. My eyes were still fixated down the left-turning road as I started steering to my right. And then, as my gaze shifted towards the direction I was now driving in, suddenly, I could see the correct road in front of me again. Everything was now back to normal. I looked in the rearview mirror and sure enough, the left-turning road was non-existent. My hands felt icy cold and I was physically shaking. I pulled over to my right and just sat there in silence. We contemplated going back to investigate, but just looking back at the road behind me gave me a sick feeling in my stomach. She felt it too. We decided to get the hell out of there and that was that. I was very hesitant to go down that road again and avoided it the best I could after that. But a few weeks or months later, I decided to go back in the daytime and check it out. I pulled over at the right turn spot, got out of my car, and walked around the area. This is the part that really freaks me out. I quickly found out that on the left side of the road, obscured by some thick underbrush, was a very steep, rocky cliff that dropped off maybe 200 to 250 feet into a ravine. The phantom road would have taken me directly through a clearing in between two trees that led straight over the cliff. If I had chosen not to follow my gut and drove down that road, there is a very, very good chance that we would have been seriously injured or killed. Apparently, several people have crashed in the area by driving down into the ravine. Might just be coincidence, but who knows. I don't know what to make of this event. If I were alone, I'd be more willing to write it off as hallucination or trick of the eye, but I was not alone. She saw the same thing I did. I was not intoxicated, although my passenger was a bit buzzed if I remember correctly. I have also never experienced anything out of the ordinary in my entire life other than this. Has anyone ever heard of something similar before? This happened to me in 2001, pre-9/11. I am home alone while my parents are out grocery shopping. My room has a window where I can see other houses outside and most of the side of the mountains. Tons of trees in rural central Oregon. I see a ton of movement out of the corner of my eye while playing custom Robo on my TV. I am laying in bed so the window is to my left, and I can get a good view of some big pine tree across the street in my neighbor's side yard, wigging the fuck out. It looks like something heavy is climbing up it or something. It's just jitteringly shaking back and forth heavily. I get up to get a better look. Nothing at all around its base. There is nothing in it, shaking erratically. I close the windows and curtains and hide until my parents come home. I freak the fuck out, explaining it to them. They believe me, but nothing is done about it. It never happens again. Never see anything weird like that again. It was so fucking spooky. There was no other sensation or anything out of place. Would not have noticed anything off if I was not facing my window. Here is something I consider paranormal. Be me around 8 or 9 years old when this happened. I am staying up late because something is bugging me, but I don't know what. I stare out the window trying to sleep because I don't want to be grounded for staying up late. I notice a light shining on the hill behind the house. I get up and move my desk to the window to look outside. Someone must be coming home late and parking in the back. I look for a car or maybe a person. There is neither of those things. There is just a ball of light hovering where a car would be. I panic because no one is home. The light is getting closer/brighter. I jump in bed, hide under the blankets, and peek out. I hold my breath and play dead. I knock over my chair and many other things. The light is at the window now. I am about to cry like a baby. I reach to hold tight to the bedsheets. I keep reaching. I am no longer on the bed and about to hit the top bunk of the bed. I suddenly fall back into bed and bounce off. I'm a bit bruised from hitting the floor so hard. My head hurts like hell. The light is gone. I tell myself it was just a nightmare. I step over all the shit I knocked over to get water. I get to the kitchen. Dad is there, standing in the way of the fridge. He doesn't say anything, just goes to their room with nothing. I go to bed. The next day, I tell my mom all about it. Dad has not been home in 2 days. I don't know what the fuck happened, and honestly, I think it was just one of the freakier things to happen while I lived there. Be me. I want to say I was probably around 10 years old. Dad was finally at home after a long service in the military. For context, This is a Latin American shithole, so there is somewhat witchcraft. I don't know who Dad messed with, but suddenly we start suffering from various disgraces, from general illness to damages. First, we all get a super nasty fever. Then the fridge fucking dies, the microwave follows, and finally the car gets hit too. I arrived exhausted from school and went to bed. This was not my room, it was my grandmother's aunt who died not too long ago. I was playing with a pillow, and I feel something weird inside of it, like some sand or those silica balls. I get my hand in there. It was a fucking bag with dirt. Panic attack. My mother comes in, finds 2 more. Then the dog smells the bag and goes to the yard. Finds another fucking bag with dirt and animal bones, but it has a bonus: my dad's photo. Apparently, all of these things were caused by this. We also get informed that the dirt that they used was from a graveyard. We throw that shit into a river to uncast the witchcraft or something. I don't really know how it works. Things slowly recover. We never suffered from something as bad as that again, so to this day, I keep wondering how that works. My dad served in the Vietnam War from 1960 to 1962. For the longest time, he did not tell anyone outside of the family this story, but he is in his mid-80s now, and he does not care about me sharing it with anyone. Not that I intend to release any of our names and stuff anyway. I've heard this story told by him 5 times now, and each time I learn about new details he had not mentioned the time before. He did not like to tell the story for obvious reasons, I think. Not only is thinking back to any of those events probably traumatizing, but also he would always say he felt it would be an inappropriate family gathering discussion. My dad did a lot of things in the war. At one point, he was what was known as a tunnel rat. This was basically a soldier who performed underground search and destroy missions. This was usually done in underground tunnels. My dad and 2 of his comrades were crawling through a deep tunnel. They were expecting to hit a booby trap or run into an ambush, but the tunnels were surprisingly empty and silent. My dad describes the experience of crawling through the silent dark tunnels as bone-chilling and adrenaline pumping, as the fear of instant death at any moment would linger. My dad and his comrades heard a faint yelling and crying sound further down the tunnels. It was the crying and yelling of a woman. As they crawled deeper into the tunnels, the cries and screams became more clear. It was obvious that there was a woman screaming for help. The 3 picked up their pace. They were worried of a potential hostage or prisoner situation. As they continued to crawl through the tunnels, the cries for help got a little louder and clearer. They arrived to a small room that they could just slightly get off their knees in. The ceiling was high enough to half stand, half crouch. There was a small table with a lantern on it that was still lit. There were also 2 broken chairs and a locked safe box with some metallic objects that would wrestle around inside the box when shaken. Aside from that, this small room was empty. However, the tunnel continued on past this room, so they continued deeper into the tunnel, but the screams for help had stopped at this point. My dad described this horrible familiar stench of death that soon became overwhelming in the tunnels. They entered one final room with no further tunnels. My dad still refuses to describe everything that was in this room in detail, other than that there were multiple bodies and that they were not killed by just bullets. They looked as though they had been mutilated by some kind of creature. One of the bodies was that of a woman. The scene was so horrible that my dad and the 2 other tunnel rats had to turn around and flee. They had no explanation for what could have done what was seen in that room. When they crawled back out of the tunnels, they started hearing the cries for help from that woman's voice again. My dad says he and his comrades froze and looked at each other with wide eyes and obvious fear in their faces. They had made it to the end of that tunnel. There were no living things from there to the end of it, yet those screams for help were coming from the direction that they just were. They picked up their pace even more. My dad was in the back of the group of 3. He says he would look back every 10 seconds, thinking he was hearing sounds from behind him, fearing he would see someone or something approaching from the darkness. They made it back to the surface eventually and marked the entrance with a flag that signified to his team that the tunnel had been searched and cleared. Most tunnels will be interconnecting as a means of underground transportation and cover, but my dad says this tunnel was unusual to abruptly end. He says it was easily the most gut-wrenching, horrific, nightmare-inducing thing he'd experienced in his entire 2 years in Vietnam.